So I wake up to a storm out my window. And I don't know if you heard the storm today, but it was a storm like that. It's still dark, but I hear the rain and maybe hail pummeling my windows. I don't know about you, this is one of my favorite things. To wake up in the middle of a storm, you're nodding, and you're safe and warm in your own bed, and the storm rages on. So I'm having that sort of like experience of, the storm, but I'm safe. And it starts me thinking like, well, this is actually a good analogy for my life right now. The storm, my life had felt at the moment like a storm. It was raging on outside, but I actually am safe and warm in my own bed. I have an apartment, I have a bed, I have a job, I have food. I'm gonna be okay. The storm is gonna pass. And as I half asleep, ponder on that and go back to sleep, for the first time in months, I have no nightmares, I have a good night's sleep, and I wake up feeling hopeful. What had been troubling me had been a breakup, you know. It was a breakup with somebody who I just felt betrayed. You know, it was a long distance thing that had gone on for 2 years. I didn't really expect it to last forever, but I said to him, you know, one of us is gonna meet someone. Whatever you do, I won't ghost you, you don't ghost me. And he's like, but you're my best friend, Chicken, I'll never do that for you. He called me Chicken because he was from Ireland. And he was like, I would never do that. And then he did it. Then he did it. It's just this person who texted me every single day, like 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, is just gone, you know? And it's just like 2 weeks into like nightmares of every place I go looking for him, and he's just left, you know? Like that was the dream. That was the link that I was on. And I finally just took a day and I just called him and called him and called him and called him. And finally, all right, I got a girlfriend. I said, I knew that. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I'm like, no, I'm so angry. And so I had told him, I'm like, you know, we got to take a break because like you're a coward, but we've been friends for like a year and a half, and maybe we can salvage this. We got to give it time because I am just so angry. But when it all sort of settled and he was gone, I was so gosh darn lonely, which was the bigger issue. I was so lonely in New York. I'd moved there maybe 3 years before. I still hadn't really found my people. My sister said, it's hard to meet people in a new city and you're 40. You got to be knowing about that. And she was right. It was hard. It wasn't that I wasn't meeting people. I mean, there were the girls at the bar that I worked at that were a lot younger than me and did a lot more drugs than me, a lot more. There was my roommate who, gosh, when I moved in with him, we got along so well, and then he joined Landmark Forum. and I couldn't run out of breakfast cereal without him saying, what happens if you just join Landmark Forum? He was proselytizing Abby every goddamn day. And then there was, so I was now hanging out at the local bar/coffee shop. I mean, it really was a coffee shop, but if you ordered a Jack Daniels at 7 a.m., they would just fill it in the coffee cup and send you on your way. And this is in Brooklyn, in the Sunset Park, and there I met Big Jimmy, Little Jimmy, Tattoo Jimmy. The owner of the place was this ex-cop. If you ordered an omelet, he would make it and serve it to you in his pajamas with his slippers with a cigarette hanging out because he lived upstairs. And if you came in the afternoon, he had a new hobby, which was catfishing people on the computer on Craigslist. He's like, hey, yeah, I'm saying I'm Simone. I'm a 26-year-old lesbian, and I'm out of a relationship. I just want to have fun. What should I say? I'm like, don't get me involved. So it wasn't that I wasn't meeting people. I wasn't connecting with people. But anyhow, I woke up this day, and the sun is now shining, and I'm feeling hopeful. And I do my affirmations as I do every day. My life has a bright future. My life has a bright future. I say that 10 times. And the new habit is get out of the house. Do not ruminate. Do not talk to Landmark Forum guy. Just go. So I go to the coffee shop, and there, of course, are the 3 Jimmys. And Daisy is behind the bar. And they take one look at me, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And you don't live on 62nd Street, do you? And I'm like, no, I'm on 60th. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, what happened on 62nd Street? And they're like, the tornado. And I'm like, what? And there was a tornado. And I'm like, there was a tornado. You don't know about the tornado? I'm like, the storm? And it wasn't a storm. They ripped the roofs off the buildings. I'm like, oh my God, it flipped cars. I'm like, you're kidding. And one of the Jimmys is like, yeah, there was this girl. She was just driving to work on Bayside Highway. Car flipped over, fiery crash. I mean, she just died on impact. And I'm like, oh my God. And so they're talking about this, and they're very worried. These are all local guys. They know people on 62nd Street, and how is Joel, and does anyone have his number? And I sit with them for about an hour and a half. They're already drinking heavy. It's like 10 in the morning. And I hang out with them, try to comfort them, but then I gotta go. I'm not about to do the day drink thing with them and so I leave. And I peruse the neighborhood, and 62nd, everything is police tape. And there's the parts of the buildings you can see are on the ground, and the flipped over car, and I go by the local park, and these beautiful sycamore trees, these ancient trees. It's like they've been plucked out of the ground and thrown like just in shattered shreds. And I get home, and of course I look it up online, and I find New York One. There's an interview with a woman, she's 62nd Street, and she's like, I woke up, it sounded like a freight train, and then suddenly I'm being pummeled by like rocks and water, and I run downstairs, and I open the door as a tree is coming at me. I thought I was gonna die, and I'm thinking, I am so lucky to live on 60th Street and not on 62nd Street. And then I start thinking, but I also live on the top floor, and I'm actually not safe in my own bed. And so that thing that had brought me comfort, this idea that at least I'm safe in it's a lie. I'm not safe. And then this sort of starts me going down this rabbit hole. I'm like, don't go down this rabbit hole. Just don't, just try to stay above this depression. Don't let it consume you. And my computer dings. And I look at it, and it's my ex, it's Frank. And it's a message from him saying, hey, just checking in how you're doing. And I'm thinking, oh, this has made national news. Like, tornado in Brooklyn is kind of rare. So I'm thinking that in Ireland, they must have, I don't know, rooters. And so I tell him everything that I'm feeling, and that it's just like I'm worried about my neighbors, and like I know some of them are homeless, and I don't have the money to do anything. I don't even know what to do. And I'm trying to sort of stay atop of it, and he's this really positive guy. He's the kind of guy who used to like call me up. It's like, well, let's figure it out. So I'm thinking he'll call, and if nothing else in this horrible day where people are clearly having a worse time than me happens, is that I get my old friend back. That would be great. I expect that call, it doesn't come. And then I think, oh yeah, Ireland, 5 years in bed. He's at work. It's going to be a long conversation. He'll call me at 5 his time, 1 o'clock mine. And at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock that evening, it's obvious he is not my friend anymore. He has read this email and ignored it. Like, I have lost my friend. I have lost, and everybody is losing things today, and I've lost my friend, and now I'm having an anxiety attack, and I'm like, I gotta calm down. And I think, what would my therapist say? My therapist would say, life is the story you tell, right? That there's the things that happen to you, and you can't control that, but you can control the narrative. That's where transformation happens. So what happened? What is the narrative? And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? There's been a tornado. My neighbors are homeless. Some of them don't have places to live. A woman died. Her family is grieving. I had a boyfriend, and he just dumped me, and he ignored me, and now I don't have any friends anymore, and I'm lonely, and it's just like, I have nothing. I have nothing. I got to get out of the house. So I'm not going to day drink or now night drink with these guys, even though I'll probably do this tomorrow. I decided to go into the city. I know that Bowery Poetry Club has a poetry reading. It was, I think, a Tuesday night. And a friend of mine from the bar, his name was Jay, he was like, I'm always there, you should go, I'll introduce you to people. So I dress nice, and I go get myself a Cosmopolitan, eyes open for Jay. Is he here? I'm not seeing him. But everybody seems to know each other. It's very much like this, just like a nice community, and everybody seems nice. I'm thinking, oh, this is nice. And then the first poet gets up, and the poem is about suicidal ideation. And then the second poem is about suicidal ideation. And then the third poet, oh God, he's so cute. He's this cute little hipster boy with this little floppy hair and his t-shirt that says something ironic, and his poem starts with, God is like a million serial killers who all want us to die. And I gotta go, I can't stay here. There's just like so much pain in the universe, and it's like, it's everywhere. Like, everybody is having a worse time of this than I am, and all I need is to get above this depression so that maybe I could help. I don't know. And I leave, I'm walking to the subway, I pass Barakat, this Middle Eastern place that used to exist there, and they have the best baba ganoush, and I'm thinking, I haven't eaten all day. Like, self-care number one, like, eat, Jesus. So I go in and I order my favorite snack from there, the baba ganoush. It's smoky, it's garlicky, it's amazing. And I get an extra large tub because I have no food in the refrigerator. And I get onto the subway platform with my tub of joy. I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna watch the 70s show. Hopefully the roof will not be ripped off my building, and I will have a good night, and tomorrow's another day. And I'm sitting there and I hear the shuffle, and I look down and I see the shoes first and the toes peeking out of the shoes. It's a homeless guy. And I'm thinking, oh, someone's going to ask me for money. And I look up, and he's in his 60s. He's completely covered in dirt. And he looks at me, and he says, "Is that food?" And I want there's nothing but delis in my neighborhood. Like, if I want a decent meal, and so I say, "I'll give you $5." And he's like, I really want something to eat. And just knee-jerk, I just give it to him. I'm like, "Here you go." And he goes, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Here you go. It's good stuff." And the subway comes. I said, "You'll enjoy it." And I get on the subway, and I'm thinking, like, this actually is the narrative that I was looking for. And I'm beginning to feel that warm feeling again. It's like, I can't control anything. I can't control the weather. I can't control the boyfriend who's no longer my friend. I can't control, police officers who like catfishing people. I can't control the tornadoes. All I control is my own actions and my own attempts to make the world a better place. And as I sit down, I look out the window, and the subway starts moving into action. I watch as this gentleman opens up the baba ganoush, takes a sniff of it. His face is suddenly clouded in horror. And I can't hear him, but I can see his mouth, "Motherfucker." I watch as we get out of the subway, as his arm sort of spindles around in this arc, and the last thing I see is my dinner splattered across the platform like a Pollock painting. And as we go into the darkness of the tunnels, I just decide some days you just got to accept today just sucks. Thank you.